You have been called an overthinker your entire life. And maybe you've even started to believe it, like it's just who you are. Or maybe you think your brain is wired differently and there's nothing you can do about it. And so you've tried everything to make it stop. You've relentlessly gone over all the worst case scenarios. You've tried to talk it through with anyone who will listen. And you think, if I could just figure this out, I could feel okay again. And still, the mental looping just never ever ends. Here is what nobody has told you about overthinking. Overthinking is not actually an overthinking problem. It's an underfeeling problem. And once you understand that, everything changes. Now, this is exactly what we're here to talk about today. And I'm going to give you a simple acronym that I use in my life in the day-to-day all the time. And then I'm going to show you a specific tool that you can use to help you with this problem so that you are not spending your day overthinking and doing these mental loops. So let's get into it. In my experience of being an anxiety specialist for over 15 years, the overthinkers are very, very intelligent. They are problem solvers. And if there is an actual problem, they are the people you want in that room. But the problem is when they have thoughts or feelings that are irrational, things go awry. They get really frustrated at the fact that they cannot solve this problem, that it's not figure outable, or that they can't come to a conclusion and wrap it up in a nice bow and have it be completed. I often use the calculation with clients that if you match an overthinker and you add an unsolvable problem, that results in a rumination frenzy. They feel incredibly stuck and they get stuck in their brain. You probably feel this way too, because you're probably one of those people. They get stuck in their brain, just consistently going round and around, trying to solve the problem. But the reason that you're so stuck is because number one, the problem isn't something you can actually solve. And number two, there is a feeling that you would have to feel to lay that overthinking to rest. And that feeling is often feelings like uncertainty, shame, embarrassment, guilt, anxiety. These are the emotions that us overthinkers, and yes, I am one too, or at least I used to be, these are the emotions that we have not built capacity to allow in our daily lives. As soon as they show up, instead of feeling them, we go into thinking to try and solve that feeling and make it go away. Now, I get it. This feels logical in the moment. It feels like the accurate thing to do because when there is a problem, you find the solution and you solve it, therefore leaving you with the result of feeling relief. But when it comes to uncertainty, there is no solution except to feel the feeling. Allow that feeling to rise and fall on its own. And I understand it's uncomfortable. I don't blame you for not wanting to feel it. Once again, people who overthink don't have an overthinking problem. They have an underfeeling problem. Now, often clients will say that makes no sense to me. I have all the feelings. They're too much. I don't want to feel them. And I understand that. And we're not saying that you don't have feelings. We're saying you are not willing to feel them. And that sucks. I know. I'm not here to give you a hard time. I'm not here to bully you into this. I just want you to recognize the pattern. For me, I know that when I start to ruminate and I'm overthinking, I usually think about the fact that everything I'm doing is from my neck up. I'm thinking through the problem. Instead, the solution is unsolvable, it's uncertain, and therefore the solution is to drop down in my body and to practice feeling those feelings. And we're going to do it as compassionately as we can. So let's really talk about this acronym that I use for myself when I'm going through. Now, I want to preface this. This is not a CBT scientifically proven acronym. This is one I use for myself that I find really, really effective. And the acronym is ASAP. Now, I know you want to get rid of that discomfort ASAP, so I have a solution that actually works. The A is for awareness. So when you notice that you're overthinking, that you're doing a lot of this neck up problem solving, I want you to pause and catch yourself. So I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I overthinking? What's going on right now? Is this a moment where I am overthinking? That's that awareness piece. And the next question as a part of that is, specifically what emotion would I have to feel if I wasn't overthinking? Now, that might take a little bit of time. Building awareness is a skill that we have to practice doing a lot of reps. And I've had clients even say, building this awareness skill is 90% of the work. And so I'm going to strongly encourage you to journal, log, do whatever you can to increase that awareness. Now, the S of our acronym is self-compassion. Now, as we proceed, we're not going to beat ourselves up. We're not going to tell ourselves, oh, you idiot, you're overthinking again. You shouldn't be doing this. We are going to acknowledge, of course I'm overthinking. It makes complete sense that I'm overthinking because this is really uncomfortable. Or again, as I said, most of you overthinkers are incredibly intelligent. Yes, I'm talking about you. And it really sucks when you can't solve a problem, right? It's not easy. It doesn't feel good when there's something looming over you. And so let's be really gentle and compassionate and validate the discomfort that you actually feel. So now we're going to move to the third letter of our acronym, which is back to A. But this A is about attention training. Attention training is a skill we use, a cognitive behavioral therapy skill that we use to help us bring our attention and zoom our attention into what matters to you. We have an online course called the Rumination Reset where I teach this specific skill. And it's all about bringing our attention to the present moment and being very clear about what we are going to give our attention to. Are we going to indulge in the anxiety that we feel or the intrusive thought that we have and mull over it and try to figure it out and really dig and stir that up? Or are we going to practice with compassion, slowly pivoting our attention, allowing that discomfort to be there and bringing our attention to what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? What sensations can you feel? Bringing your attention to those things. Now, this is a very difficult skill. It might sound very simple, but it is difficult to practice and it does require many reps, but I have found it to be one of the most powerful CBT skills I have learned in my entire life and in my career. So if you want to learn more about that, head over to the Rumination Reset or the links will be in the show notes. The last of our acronym, which is P, and I've already said this word, but it is practice. This is something we are going to do on repeat. It's not just working through these 4 acronym letters and being done. This is about practicing it over and over and over again. Now, I like to think of, instead of the word practice, I prefer to use the word dabble. We want to dabble in these skills. We want to see, it's like an experiment. If I were to allow myself to have this uncertainty and dabble in it, how long could I feel it for? What would be tolerable for me? Could I dabble in the emotion and practice being non-judgmental about it? Could I dabble in just practicing little baby steps of feeling this feeling and bringing myself down out of my head into my body and actually feel the sensations? Often when it comes, let's say you're feeling the feeling of uncertainty, I might go, okay, where is the uncertainty? Oh, it's in my chest. All right. Can I send loving kindness to my chest? Can I do a breath and breathe into it and soften around it? Can I allow it, right? If let's say it's a really, really strong intrusive thought that's repetitive and just won't stop, you might be like, okay, I'm going to practice allowing that intrusive thought. If it's panic and you're fully activated by panic, it's going to be dabbling and practicing allowing the sensations of panic and recognizing that while they're really, really uncomfortable, they're not dangerous. They're not going to kill me. They're not going to do damage. This is really important as we practice and do those reps of allowing feelings instead of thinking our way out of it. Because at the end of the day, you won't solve the problem and you'll still have the feeling. In fact, you probably have more of that feeling. So we want to move through this 4-part acronym as many times and with kindness as we can. Now, as I promised, there is a bonus hack or a skill you can use that often is really helpful, particularly if your intrusive thoughts are gnarly and very persistent. And that's going to be the use of what we call a non-engagement response. We call it an NER in clinical speak. And so what you're going to do is when you observe the intrusive thought, you're going to be, again, ideally, once you've practiced this, you will be able to be aware and observe that you're engaging in mental compulsion so well that you might even catch it before you start engaging in that mental rumination. And so that next time that intrusive thought does come up, you have a non-engagement response for it. Now, these non-engagement responses are usually a little bit funny and sassy. It might say, "Good one, brain, nice try, but I'm not falling for it this time." Or it might be like, "Good one, bro, I love the way that you always bring the drama." That is what we call a non-engagement response. It's you having anxiety, having the intrusive thought, but practicing setting a limit. You're talking to it as if it's a third person and being like, "Nope, we're not doing this today." Now, if you like this idea and you want some ideas, I created a video called The 13 Sassy Things to Say Back to Anxiety. And that is full of my favorite 13 non-engagement responses that you can use. So you can click the end card at the end of this video if you're interested in learning about that. But again, these are another way that we can pivot and intervene into a feeling of discomfort before we move into having rumination and overthinking. Okay, so let's do a little recap. We know that overthinking usually comes because you're trying to solve something that isn't solvable. If it was solvable, you, the intelligent person that you are, would have solved it already. The reason you're overthinking is because you're not wanting to feel whatever feeling comes along with that experience. The reason you're overthinking is because you don't want to feel whatever feeling goes along with that intrusive thought or intrusive feeling or sensation, urge, or image. We want to identify what is that feeling that you don't want to feel. And then we want to practice compassionately and non-judgmentally allowing that feeling, bringing it with us. And your job is to build a wider capacity to feel that feeling without looping and engaging in it again. And while bringing your attention back to what matters to you, what's important to you, you value. That way, you're not in a ruminating wrestle with thoughts all day long. Thoughts can come and you bring your attention to what matters, which is you, what you value, your hobbies, the things that you love, the things that bring you joy, the things that get you through the day. All right. The acronym is ASAP, and you can also practice those non-engagement responses if you want those as well. Okay. So I hope that has been helpful. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you. As always, it is a beautiful day to do these freaking hard things. I am here cheering you on. Just imagine me, pretend you're running a marathon and all those people at the very end of the marathon, and they're cheering and they're yelling and they're clapping and they're just so delighted in the hard work that you're doing. That's me. I want you to imagine that's me towards you. All right. I am sending you so much love. I will see you in the next episode and have a wonderful day.